Thank you for joining us. We present many subjects of importance to our viewers, and health is certainly one of them. In our continuing series on breakthroughs in health and anti-aging, we have an update on the regenerative qualities of stem cells and young blood plasma. This research is taking place worldwide, and with us here today to tell us more, we have Dr. Dipnarine Maharaj and Bill Faloon, the co-founder of Life Extension, following these messages.
We're going to open up this presentation with some history, because if you don't understand this history, you won't understand the predicament we're in right now. Smallpox has killed hundreds of millions of people over all of history, but they discovered a way to treat it, prevent it with a vaccination. And by 1840 in England, there was widespread vaccination. There was no more smallpox. It was eradicated. But it took up until 1979 for the entire world to benefit. So from 1900 to 1979, 300 million humans died of smallpox, when a way to absolutely prevent it had been discovered more than 100 years prior to that. We are in the same predicament as it relates to aging. There are ways to intervene to slow and reverse pathological aging processes, and the majority of the world and the majority of the people in the United States are doing virtually nothing to make that age reversal happen. Same with scurvy. It was discovered that limes and lemons could prevent and cure it, and yet it took over 400 years before it was considered accepted by the conventional establishment. You had people dying horrific deaths from vitamin C deficiency from scurvy when it was already known how to do it. If you didn't go to the right circle, you didn't find out this information. And the contention that Life Extension has right now today, it may be possible to rejuvenate elderly people and transform them into much younger individuals from a biological standpoint. We've established an organization called the Society for the Rescue of Our Elders. Purpose of this group is to unite all the technologies so people who log onto these websites can gain access to the information that Dr. Maharaj is going to describe tonight and information from around the world. Now, we call this a biomedical renaissance. And if you look up in the dictionary what renaissance means, it applies directly to what we are doing. Our renaissance today is the science of renewing older people. That is the biomedical renaissance we are talking about. And we at Life Extension have been advocating more aggressive activity in the research field to accelerate the development of therapies that are working in the laboratory animals. Old animals are being made young again in the laboratory, and it's time to translate that into humans. And for those who don't know Life Extension, we have a rather long track record. We were the first to introduce low-dose aspirin and coenzyme Q10, DHEA, melatonin, all of the therapies that you'll walk into a CVS and see a big, long line of shelves with low-dose aspirin, melatonin, CoQ10, etc. We pioneered that in the 1980s. I put that on to let you know we have a unique ability to identify technologies before the medical establishment figures it out. But the great news is the mainstream media is picking up on the fact that human beings are evolving towards indefinitely extended, healthy human lifespans. This is Town and Country, cover 2017. Now, where they were wrong is they were saying you have to be rich in order to engage in these age reversal technologies, and that's not quite the case. There are approaches right now that are quite affordable that can enable you to reverse aging. But the media, again, is picking up on the science, indicating that people are going to start living a lot longer than what they are right now. Now, Time magazine ran this cover a couple years ago about children born now. There's no question they're going to live a real long time. No question about that. But I don't see any children in this room. We're way past that stage. We need to do something like what Osman Kaibar is doing. He is using science in an attempt to reverse aging in people. He's one of many people who are engaging in technology aimed at radically extending healthy human lifespans. And this includes the tech titans. Mark Zuckerberg, he's determined to cure every single disease within the next 100 years. One problem is we don't have 100 years. We need to rejuvenate ourselves so we become biologically younger so we can take advantage of what Mark Zuckerberg is doing. And the Google people, they are funding age reversal research. We're grateful for that. We're grateful for what Jeff Bezos at Amazon is doing in conjunction with Mayo Clinic, funding age reversal research. Age reversal was a word that wasn't used up until the last couple of years ago as it pertained to humans, because frankly, it was not possible to do it. The technology has evolved to the point where everyone is getting involved. The famous multi-billionaires are putting their own money into technology aimed at eradicating degenerative disease. This particular Harvard professor, using CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology, believes within the next 10 years, he is going to be able to edit the genes of older people, transform them back into younger individuals. Bottom line, do you want to be around in 10 years? Well, if you do, what Dr. Maharaj is going to tell you is very, very important. And again, media picking up on the fact that people are going to live an awful long time. And this is all based on peer-reviewed published studies coming out, and the media, of course, is sensationalizing them. Wall Street Journal talks about a single drug that may enable you to live much, much longer. When they give this drug to old animals, the old animals have a reversal in their aging processes. This drug is being extensively studied. And when people hear about anti-aging technologies today, well, they're running. They want to gain access to it. This is a drug called metformin, which Life Extension has been advocating since 1995. They plan to do a clinical study to see, can it really reverse aging? Well, we already know the answer. We've been practicing it for the last 22 years using metformin. CNN reporting on a new class of drugs, senolytics, to remove the senescent cells from your body. This is gaining widespread media attention. The Salk Institute, they were able to reverse aging in the animal model, and there are people working right now to emulate that technology in people using existing technologies. And if you look at that slide, not only did the animals live longer, but they looked better. Their spine straightened out. They started to look younger in response to this gene-altering technology. So the fundamental question for everyone in this group to ponder is, which area do you want to be on? What side do you want to be on? Because you can be part of the control group, which is virtually everyone in the United States. They do very little to interfere with degenerative aging. Or you can join the experimental group. We plan to circumvent all of those degenerative illnesses in a systematic way. And what Dr. Maharaj is going to present is the most comprehensive rejuvenation program we know on the planet. We're right here in Palm Beach County, and we are at ground zero, the center of where anti-aging technology is progressing. And what Dr. Maharaj will be doing involves stem cell mobilized young plasma concentrates. We know it works in the animal model. Nature did a lot of reporting on it back in 2015, just reviewing multitudes of studies showing that old animals given young blood, they grow younger. The old animals grow younger in response to young blood. And this has caught the attention of the most prestigious universities in the world. They are involved in research right now, but it's nothing comparable to what Dr. Maharaj is doing. Nothing comparable. But the thesis of it, at least, is there. We know that young blood rejuvenates old animals, and we think it can also help with people. Johnson & Johnson is spending lots of money to see if they cannot find a way to cure Alzheimer's using young plasma. Again, nothing comparable to what Dr. Maharaj is going to present. The media picking up on the science that aging might be reversible if we can only get young, healthy plasma into our body, and the data continues to be strong. And the study that impressed us, really impressed us, is they took the blood from a healthy teenager, and they injected it into old mice. And the old mice grew biologically younger. They grew new brain cells. As you may know, when you grow old, your brain atrophies. It shrinks. They were able to restore structure to these old mice simply using a couple injections of young, healthy plasma. And it got a lot of media attention because here you have mice that are no longer old by virtue of young human plasma. They had improved cognition, their brain cells are forming, and what's probably more important than anything else is they acted young. They behave like younger animals in response to young human plasma. Just a short course of it enabled that to happen. And I think everyone in this room would like to be able to behave and function and act much younger than what we are right now. I certainly would like that to happen. And again, the media picking up on it. The Economist, one of the most prestigious publications in the world in the financial field, they're asking the question, well, if all this technology has happened, why aren't we using young plasma in old people? Bottom line is Dr. Maharaj is doing it not just with young healthy plasma, he's using stem cell mobilized young healthy plasma concentrates. Day and night difference from what the mainstream is proposing that we do right now. So we know today that young blood rejuvenates old animals. There's no question about that. And if you want to be part of the control group, do nothing. Degenerative aging will take you down. If you want to choose something like young plasma from a technology that Dr. Maharaj is working on, you may derive the benefits shown on the experimental group. You look at how people died last century, around 1900, 1950, they didn't live very long. They died of all kinds of problems that we now eradicate. Well, look at surging life expectancy in the United States. And what I've highlighted there in red is 1940 to 1960. And I did that because I was born in 1954. And I had no idea when I was a little kid that I was only supposed to live to be 62 years of age. I mean, I'm 63 right now, so I've been able to exceed what that limitation was. But the next period back, if you were born in 1900, 1940, you were only supposed to live 55 years. I don't think anyone in this room would accept 55 years or 62 years. We all plan to live a lot longer, and the bottom line is we're able to because of technological advances. That's why we are able to live longer. And what I'm telling you tonight is that we have sufficient evidence to say with a high degree of confidence that we believe it is possible to enable older people to grow biologically younger. Our time has come as it relates to medical history. We did set up a new organization completely separate from life extension. This organization is involved in just tabulating, letting people enroll, and checking off the areas of interest that they have. And if it's Dr. Maharaj's program, log on to this website, check off the box. We'll keep you posted on the developments as to when that program is about to start. And it is going to start very, very soon. And Dr. Maharaj will probably make this announcement, but Dr. Maharaj has FDA approval to conduct an investigational new drug study using stem cell mobilized young plasma concentrates. This is unprecedented in medical history. Nobody has done this. It's taken 2 years, by the way, to get the FDA's approval to do this study. This is something that should scare us all. And this deals with using young blood to rejuvenate older animals. The research peaked in 1972, and it fell off a cliff. That could happen in this situation if we don't raise the funding for Dr. Maharaj's project. We could have everything in place, including investigational new drug approval from the FDA, an incredible team of scientific advisors, the facilities, the technology, the patents, everything's in place. But if it isn't pursued, it'll fall off a cliff, and someone 50 years from now will saying, you know what? Back there in 2017, they knew how to do this, except the technology didn't get moved forward. By way of example, therapeutic cloning. The federal government banned this back in 2001. Our Life Extension magazine tried in March to get the public to rebel. We wanted people to complain and say, hey, we want this technology to move forward because we think it can enable aging to be reversed. And the good news is the FDA has approved a study that emulates what we were seeking to accomplish over 16 years ago. It's really incredible. So if you ever get an email from us and we say, will you please contact your 2 senators and congressmen because the government's trying to stop something, I do hope you'll pay attention. I'm going to conclude my introduction by comparing Dr. Maharaj to another genius. And for those who don't fully appreciate GPS and all the technologies that we have via satellite communications, well, if it wasn't for Albert Einstein, we wouldn't have it. A lot of us would have gotten lost coming here, including me, by the way. That's because of Albert Einstein. And I didn't know this until I read it in the Wall Street Journal, that his ability to measure time in billions of a second, think about that, billions of a second, when you're shooting transmissions back and forth between satellites and ground bases, he did it. Well, Dr. Maharaj I believe, is going to enable old people to grow biologically younger. Bottom line is, there's an urgent need for human age reversal research. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Maharaj, who's going to tell you the details of his program to rejuvenate elderly people in a meaningful and systematic manner. Systematic's very important. You don't want to just rejuvenate your brain and kidneys and have your heart give out. So his program offers the greatest opportunity for systemic age reversal.
With us now is Dr. Dipnarine Maharaj and Bill Faloon. Sir, a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Same. Thank you.
And Bill, as always.
Thank you, Richard.
Dr. Maharaj, that was a great lecture you gave today. What is new in your field?
I believe that our current project is our latest development. And actually, I believe that we are at the leading edge, being the only center that actually is using young blood in this particular way. And that is the GCSF mobilized young blood plasma to treat frailty, which is one of the key aspects of aging.
Bill, you have a lot to say in this subject also. You also made a presentation today, and things are moving so rapidly in your joint areas. What's new?
Well, I hope everyone on this broadcast appreciates the privilege of living in an era where the prospect of human age reversal, that's human age reversal, is rapidly transforming into biomedical reality. And we're funding at Life Extension a number of studies right now showing that the interventions with certain medications and other therapies is able to at least partially restore youthful functionality to older people. What Dr. Maharaj is doing is so far ahead of all of this, however, because he's looking to systematically reverse the frailty that occurs with aging, including immune senescence, which will eventually kill everyone unless something else does them in first.
The challenges I would expect financially are quite substantial, and there was very little cooperation in past decades. Bill, I understand there's far more support nowadays. There are tech titans, billionaires all over the world who are really more interested in this than ever before.
Virtually every famous name in the biotech industry, in the information technology industry, they're pulling resources together to fund research. The problem is they're not focused on a specific objective. Dr. Maharaj and Life Extension are seeking to systematically reverse aging in a way that people will not only feel better, look better, but perform better. And we plan to use clinical measures and biomarkers of aging tests to ascertain, are we really accomplishing systemic rejuvenation? And I'm afraid a lot of people with very good intentions, I'm grateful they're funding certain research, but ours aims to get results fast. Because every single day in this country, over 5,000 Americans die of a degenerative illness. And if every day we're delayed, that's 5,000 more dead Americans.
This is also very interesting, and I understand both of you have actually self-experimented.
I think the self-experimentation goes on every day, which is basically, as we know, and of course Bill being an expert on aging and the effects of life extension, from a personal point of view, I'm doing everything that I can. Self-experimentation should be done by everyone. Everyone has a role and has to take responsibility for their own health care.
Well, in a way, many people today self-experiment by eating lower calorie diets and exercise more. Those are some ways to reduce the risk of degenerative illness. But I've been working not just as an advocate for Dr. Maharaj, I've been a patient for a number of years. I have a genetic bone marrow disorder, and I may be dead right now if it were not for the interventions that Dr. Maharaj creatively put together for me on an individualistic basis. So I've been a beneficiary of trying to slow aging in as much as I've been able to deal with some chronic conditions that I have. My brother died at the age of 22 from aplastic anemia. My sister has chronic neutropenia. I had chronic neutropenia. I don't have it right now. If it comes back, I'll go back to Dr. Maharaj, and I believe he will correct that. But as it relates to self-experimentation with aging, I've been doing that most of my life. I have been taking the drug metformin. It's an anti-diabetic drug, happens to slow aging processes, reduce cancer risk. I'm not a diabetic, but I take metformin, and I have undergone NAD+ infusion therapy that has resulted in tremendous improvements with my sleep, with my blood pressure, with my mental energy levels. I've gotten those same benefits with Dr. Maharaj's stem cell mobilized therapy with my own bone marrow. So I've been a beneficiary of intelligent self-experimentation.
As I said, most fascinating. Now, fundraising, of course, is another obstacle, another big challenge. And you have this new Young Blood project. Tell our audience about it, please.
So this is, in my belief, you know, I've been working in this area of stem cells and stem cell transplantation for the last 30 years. But I believe that this is the most innovative and most exciting project because the impact of this will be, it potentially could affect about 2 billion people who by the age of 2050 would, by the age of 65, you know, in the year 2050, it's going to, we're going to be faced with this huge number of people.
Please clarify that again. You say 2 billion people will be over the age of 65 in a few years.
In 2050, we're going to have 2 billion people over the age of 65. And that's a huge problem because currently, for the effects of frailty, the diseases associated with aging, the treatments that we have are basically symptomatic. None of the treatments actually do anything to reverse the root causes of the problem. So this is one of the reasons why we're very excited about this project. And of course, for an ambitious project like this, to be able to impact huge numbers of people, we need to accelerate it forward because if it's delayed, we're not going to be able to help as many people as we want to do. And how do you take a big project like this? How do you move it along very quickly? You need to get good funding for it, and we need huge funding.
I can hardly think of any organization in the world that has so generously funded good causes such as this as yours, Bill. Life Extension has done this, good Lord, for decades.
We've funded over $200 million of biomedical research projects since our inception. Way back in 1977 is when we started. We were able to start making grants in 1983. But the fact of the matter is, some research we can do very affordably. We've funded human studies for under $100,000. Dr. Maharaj's project, unfortunately, involves expenses more than what we can do by ourselves. So we're asking other people to make donations to Dr. Maharaj's charity. There are other charities that are set up to help fund Dr. Maharaj's and other people's research. So there's ways for the public to contribute to research or self-experiment, become participants in these studies themselves and help fund their costs and potentially be the beneficiary.
It's kind of interesting to point out that so many very wealthy people accumulate vast wealth and they donate to all sorts of causes, but they often don't think of funding causes that could actually have helped them stay alive longer.
Help them and all of humanity. That's the beautiful part about what we're doing. There are specific charities that will help a group in a country that's hurting for money, and maybe a natural disaster took them out, and that's a wonderful thing to do. But aging afflicts everyone, every place. So if we can even slow it down, we've accomplished a lot. We're at a point right now, though, where we believe older people can be rejuvenated, but 5, 10, or more years of extra healthy time. And that, to me, is the most charitable way of giving there is.
So much of this has been controversial in the past, but reluctantly by some, now accepted. Tell our viewers of some of the medicines, medications, or procedures that exist today that actually are accepted. For example, you mentioned vapamycin has been proven to be effective, and metformin. Tell us more, please.
Well, metformin was approved in England in 1957. It's the most popularly prescribed anti-diabetic drug. Didn't get approved in the United States till the end of 1994. Basically a 37-year delay in Americans gaining access to metformin compared to those living in England. And when England approved it in 1957, the rest of Europe followed through years later. Canada, everyone in the world had metformin except the United States until the end of 1994. Now, what we've discovered with metformin is it not only helps with lowering glycemic markers, it helps slow aging processes by boosting a cellular enzyme called AMPK. AMPK is something that diminishes with aging. You take metformin, you boost AMPK, all kinds of wonderful things happen at the cellular level, including more efficient uptake of glucose.
This is so very interesting and essential to many people watching this program. Dr. Maharaj, what do you anticipate in the future? Are there going to be any even more dramatic breakthroughs coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are so many people working on the different aspects of cellular function, stem cell function, and I think that as we learn more and more about the function of what are the mechanisms, there are genetic mechanisms, for example. Some of the new technologies that we have includes, identifying genetic mutations, and then actually using gene editing therapies like CRISPR to be able to edit it out. So from the perspective of where we see the technology going, one of the things that we are doing is we're saying to each individual to be prepared for that technology, that they should bank some of their own stem cells when they're healthy. And doing things like storing one's cells for the future, it's almost like an insurance, where you actually take some of your own stem cells when they don't have all the genetic changes associated with aging, and you preserve them for yourself.
Fascinating. A lot of research in Nanjing University in China as well. Bill, a question for you. This is interesting that the research and everything and progress used to be accelerating. In all the years I've known you, we've done interviews 20 years ago, and here we are today, and things seem to be so much more, I would say, productive today than ever.
We have, over the last 3 years, accomplished more than was done probably over the previous 100 as it relates to intervening into aging and turning it backwards. We know more now, and we know more how to do it. There was a number of theories that were talked about as to what we could do, but we had no way of accomplishing it. We now have 7 or 8 interventions that may enable older people to grow younger, and if we combine them, those people may grow a lot younger.
So many people in our audience would love to learn more. Dr. Maharaj, how can they learn more from your organization?
We would love people to contact us at the Maharaj Institute of Immune Regenerative Medicine.
People who are interested in participating in clinical studies aimed at human age reversal. These are human regenerative medicine studies. We set up a special organization, and the website's pretty easy to remember, rescueelders.org. rescueelders.org, and they can enroll on the website so we can notify them when a clinical trial is about to begin and what the criteria is to participate. So anyone who's personally interested in reversing their own aging process by participating in clinical trials, reach out to us, and we'll then keep you informed, the people that reach out to us that is, about what they need to do to qualify to be part of these studies.
Well, thank you both very much. It's also very exciting. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome, Richard.
Dr. Maharaj.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.